In the previous video in this series, we covered Optimus Prime's origin as a character, his adventures in both the cartoon and the comic book, and his eventual heroic death. In this video, we'll be covering his return, the new toys it inspired, and his continuing adventures in both the cartoon and the comic book. I'm Captain Kyle, and I'm bringing you the continuing story of Optimus Prime. Now, Optimus Prime had died heroically in both Transformer continuities, both the cartoon and the comic book. But it was his death in the animated movie that had the most impact. Now, this animated feature had killed off a lot of characters from both seasons 1 and 2 of the cartoon. Hasbro was releasing new Transformer toys, and they wanted the cartoon to concentrate on these new characters. Now, in the movie, Optimus Prime's death was obviously of particular significance, and in Japan, they released a special box set called Goodbye Convoy. It featured Convoy, or Optimus Prime as he's known in the US, plus Mirage and Red Alert. However, Hasbro had underestimated the impact that Prime's death would have. Parents were not happy. Their kids had just seen their hero die on screen, and a lot of those children were very upset. The backlash was so severe that Hasbro decided to change the fate of a character in the G.I. Joe animated movie. In it, the very popular character Duke was supposed to be killed off. However, at the last minute, they changed it so that he slipped into a coma, and by the end of the movie, he had recovered. But further than that, this also paved the way for the resurrection of Optimus Prime in season 3 of the cartoon. In one episode, there was a brief return of the character. It was called Dark Awakening. Optimus Prime had been reanimated by the Quintessons, who were the original creators of the Transformers and now their bitter enemy, and he was used as bait in a trap to try to destroy all the Autobots. However, Optimus Prime's strong will allowed him to overcome the Quintessons' control, and he ended up sacrificing himself again to save the Autobots. However, realizing they couldn't leave Optimus in this state, they put a promo at the end of that episode talking about an upcoming story. It was to be called The Return of Optimus Prime. That title kind of gives away the whole thing. Two scientists testing a special new protective metal found the body of Optimus Prime moments before it was to be destroyed at the end of Dark Awakening. One of the scientists was scarred from injuries he suffered during a battle years earlier between Optimus and Megatron, and he blamed all the Transformers for his disfigurement. Pretty deep for a cartoon, and it actually explored something that a lot of cartoons didn't: collateral damage. While retrieving Optimus Prime's body, they also discovered a spore that caused sentient beings to become filled with hate and fight each other. Now, the other scientist, his fiancée and daughter of the head scientist on the project, was injured during a Decepticon attack and required special technology in order to walk again. Two of the scientists decided to use Optimus as a lure for the Autobots. Seems to be a theme with Optimus Prime. Now, while the woman scientist who had been injured didn't blame the Autobots for what had happened and tried to warn them, her father and fiancé managed to infect some Autobots with the spore. This spread into a full-blown hate plague. Rodimus Prime manages to escape with Optimus's body, and Wreck-Gar couldn't help out, as he had helped out Ultra Magnus in the movie, so Rodimus told Skylynx to find a Quintesson to restore Optimus to life. Rodimus did end up falling victim to the hate plague, but Skylynx also did find a Quintesson who did restore Optimus Prime. Optimus realized he needed the knowledge and wisdom of the Autobot Matrix of Leadership, which Rodimus Prime had, in order to figure out how to stop the hate plague. Using the special protective metal those scientists had created, he was able to protect himself from the spores and beat Rodimus Prime. He then reclaimed the Matrix. Now, the Matrix contains all the wisdom of the former leaders of the Autobots, and Optimus Prime opens the Matrix, releasing that wisdom and eradicating the hate plague. Wisdom eradicates hate. Something to think about. After that, Optimus again was leader of the Autobots, but at that point, no new toy was released. He would go on to lead the Autobots in the very short 4th season, which introduced the Headmasters and the Target Masters. Now getting back to the comic books, Optimus Prime had died playing a video game against Megatron, and when he lost, his body was basically destroyed. But don't worry, his mind was saved on a 5¼ inch floppy disk. Yes, a floppy disk.
That's been pointed out to me many times over the years. Like, his whole being is on a floppy disk. How'd you manage that? Maybe we took some artistic license.
Now, sometime later in the comics, the Autobots became aware that Optimus Prime had been saved, but the leader of the Autobots at that time, Grimlock, didn't want Optimus Prime restored. You heard right, Grimlock was leader of the Autobots. In the comic book, he was not as lacking in the intelligence department as he was in the cartoon, though he certainly had all the aggression. At this point, another group of Autobots showed up on Earth, led by Fortress Maximus, fresh out of their Headmasters limited series. Grimlock wasn't too pleased having a rival Autobot leader, and there was a bit of a power struggle. During it, Fort Max secretly sends a group of Autobots, led by Goldbug, with Optimus Prime's mind back to the planet Nebulos. Nebulos was a planet where the Headmasters and the Target Masters were created. Nebulos was inhabited by human-style aliens. However, once the Transformers left their world, they weren't too keen on any Transformers coming back. So their scientists did something to the energy sources on their planet to make them poisonous to Transformers. So when Goldbug and the other Autobots showed up, the Nebulons weren't very keen on helping them out. However, they did have a problem with a couple Decepticons there who ended up being binary bonded to a couple Nebulons who actually acted as their engines and provided them power. Do you see where I'm going with this? The Nebulons end up building a new body for Optimus Prime, and they do successfully put his mind in the new body. However, because of the poisoned power sources, Optimus's new lease on life is about to expire. That's when some of the Nebulons, the good guy Nebulons, decide that they will become Power Master engines for the Autobots who need fuel. The only one unaffected was Goldbug, who was so fuel efficient that he didn't need to recharge and therefore wasn't poisoned. So Optimus was bonded with a Nebulon called High-Q. Thus was formed the new Power Master Optimus Prime.
By that point, Optimus Prime was being introduced in the toy line as a Power Master, and I guess I followed the lead as I did on all the toys that Hasbro kept introducing into the toy line, and whatever line of toys, or whether it was a Power Master, a Target Master, a Headmaster, all of these Master toys, I'd bring them into the series as they were depicted as a toy.
And finally, we had a new Optimus Prime toy. This is Power Master Optimus Prime. Here he is out of the package. Now, this is an original Power Master Optimus Prime, so the years have not exactly been super kind to his coloration. Now, here with the cab, by attaching the High-Q little engine to the front, this would unlock his ability to become a robot. Now, this version of the robot is very reminiscent of the original Optimus Prime toy, though in actuality the US version was made out of plastic instead of die-cast metal, and he did look a little bit different, but still recognizable as the character. Like the original, this Optimus came with a trailer, though this trailer had a lot of firepower. While he didn't have roller, his trailer could become a base, and these guns even allowed Power Master engines to be the gunners. This new and improved Optimus also had kind of a super mode where the cab could merge with the trailer to become a much larger and more powerful robot. Though oddly, the whole Power Master gimmick was not necessary to attain this mode. So Optimus Prime returned to Earth, took back leadership of the Autobots. You should definitely read the comic. But after helping them through a lot of major conflicts in the comic book, they came up against Unicron. Now, if you've seen the Transformers animated movie, Unicron was the main huge bad guy, literally huge, and they met up with him in 2005. In the comic book, they met up with Unicron much earlier. And it was Optimus Prime who ended up eventually defeating Unicron using the Matrix of Leadership. Though in the process, he died. Optimus has the worst luck. But never fear, his binary bonded partner High-Q, his engine, actually had somehow merged minds with Optimus Prime. So even though Optimus Prime died, his full mind was also stored in High-Q. They save Optimus Prime's mind a lot. At least this time it wasn't a floppy disk. It gets a little bit convoluted, but certain arcane Cybertronian forces recognize that High-Q contained the mind of Optimus Prime. and actually merged IQ and Optimus Prime into one person and built the robot body around it. And Optimus Prime was restored to life just in time to finally save the Autobots and usher in a new era of peace at the end of the G1 comic book. Even though the comic book and the cartoon had both finished, there was still another G1 toy for Optimus Prime. Hasbro released a line of toys called Action Masters. Now, Action Masters were Transformers figures that actually didn't transform. However, their accessories did, or their vehicles did, for the larger Action Masters, and Optimus Prime was the largest Autobot Action Master, only rivaled by Action Master Megatron. So while the figure of Optimus Prime couldn't transform, he had a cab and a trailer, and they could. Now, the Optimus Prime figure could actually fit inside the cab, but the cab itself could change into a jet plane type transport, and even had posts that allowed other Autobot Action Masters to climb on board. His trailer could also transform into, guess what? A base. Though it was more of a battle station, and other Action Master figures could again inhabit the base and defend against the evil Decepticons. So that finishes up the US continuity of Generation 1 Optimus Prime, but in our next video, we'll discuss the Japanese continuity, which deviated from the US cartoon starting in Season 4. Plus, we'll take a look at the Generation 2 version of the character, and even more as we continue the story of Optimus Prime.
Hi, this is Gary Chalk of Optimus Prime. Please stay tuned to Fandom Spotlight. You can watch it online at any time.